Tempers flared as Washington lawmakers faced constituents at town halls on Tuesday. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene was interrupted several times by protesters at her town hall in Georgia, with police forcibly removing people from the event, arresting 3 individuals and using stun guns in 2 instances. Greene dismissed the interruptions and moved on.
Thank you to our great police officers.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here. And what kind of an evil person claps and cheers while their own constituents are dragged out, tackled, and tased? The kind who turns a town hall into a torture chamber and smiles and laughs her way through it.
She displayed some critical constituent questions about the Trump administration on a projector, reading them out loud, and responding in at least one case by pushing back.
Unfortunately, you're being brainwashed by the news that you're watching. A lot of Democrats pride themselves on being educated, and I suggest they educate themselves better.
You can tell a lot by a person by what makes them smile. And Marge, the Trainwreck Greene, got pure joy and a sick thrill watching her own voters, her own district, get roughed up right in front of her.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're all inside the interior of the United States. All inside the interior of the United States. You can head out. The protest is outside. Thank you very much. Protest is outside.
You bunch-body bigot! You bunch-body bigot!
Protest is outside. Bye. Have fun out there.
But let's be real. This wasn't a town hall. It was a purge. And Marge was up there in charge, living large, grinning like a villain while the cops played enforcers, her personal finger of the law. She's not there to serve the people. She's there to punish them, to humiliate them, to silence them for daring to ask a question she doesn't want to answer. Despite the headlines, despite Republican leadership urging their members not to hold town halls, some have been forced to face their constituents. Some, like Lauren Boebert and Gabe Evans in Colorado's CD4 and CD8, are hiding behind telephone town halls where they don't have to answer for a damn thing. Questions are filtered, the audio is controlled, and they can click leave meeting the moment things get uncomfortable. And then there's Marge the Trainwreck Greene. She didn't cancel, she didn't zoom in, she showed up, but made damn sure it was on her turf with her rules and her version of public access.
Doge gutting our government with a chainsaw approach and the utter destruction and ignoring of our Constitution and rule of law. He is not well physically or mentally. Poor Christina. Poor Christina. Well, I'm sure, Christina, you think that you're pretty smart. But the reality is you are being completely brainwashed by whatever source of news you listen to.
She forced constituents to register in advance, prove they lived in her district, bring government ID, and essentially clear a security checkpoint just to be allowed in the building. And if you had anything other than praise on your mind, well, you were a target. This wasn't about accessibility. It was about control. It was a rigged game. And when they couldn't keep critics out, they made sure cops were lined up to drag them out. That's not democracy. That's authoritarian cosplay. And the playbook doesn't stop there. It's happening nationwide, just like they've done with immigration, rewriting policy to turn everyone into a criminal, making cruelty the point. They're doing the same thing with voting rights. They're trying to force 69 million women to produce passports or birth certificates that match their married names just to vote. Who does that help? Nobody. Who does it hurt? The working poor, the elderly, women without updated documents, and yes, even their own base. You think some rural Republican voter has their original birth certificate ready to go? Hell no. They probably have a hospital keepsake with the baby footprints on it from 1963. That's not a valid document. That's a souvenir. And with cuts to federal workers and processing backlogs stacking up, by the time they realize they need a real one, well, it's probably going to be too late. That's the plan. Exhaust people, confuse them, make it so difficult, so circular that they just give up. That's not protecting democracy, that's suffocating it. And they're calling it making America great again. Here's how it all went down. Cobb County, Georgia, Tuesday night, Marge the Trainwreck Greene takes the stage at a so-called town hall for Georgia's 14th district. She's just been introduced, the mic is live, the crowd is settling in, and not even 10 seconds after she opens her nasty little pie hole and starts spewing MAGA word vomit, someone yells out. Not a threat, not a riot, just a voice in the room. and in seconds swarmed by cops, dragged out of the room, and then there's Marge clapping, grinning, smirking, thanking her fine police officers like she's hosting a fundraiser at a country club. Then, not even 30 seconds later, it happens again. Another outburst, another citizen, another voice that didn't follow the script. This time, dragged out, tackled, tased in front of everyone. And what does Marge do? Nothing. No shock, no concern. Just more smug clapping and gloating like she just won a round of Family Feud. That's not public service. That's sadism with the side of state power. This was supposed to be a town hall. After the second outburst and another person getting dragged out, tackled and tased, you'd think Marge the Trainwreck Greene might take a breath. Maybe de-escalate, maybe offer something resembling empathy. But nope, that's when she launched into her main act, her headline performance. The part where she waved around a fake chart and started spewing economic fiction like it was gospel truth. She began throwing out fake facts, half-baked numbers, and the same tired MAGA talking points, blaming Joe Biden for every bump in the market like she was reading straight from Trump's True Social feed. She held up a chart that looked like it was printed off a Reddit conspiracy thread, circled the 2022-2023 downturn like it was a murder scene, and declared that Biden had destroyed the economy. But what she didn't say was that, conveniently left out, was that the dip was global. It was caused by a post-pandemic world economy. Russia's war in Ukraine, spiking energy prices, and massive Fed interest rate hikes, while she was bellyaching about electric vehicles and washing machines. The truth didn't fit her narrative, so she tossed it out. It was like watching someone quote a Bible verse completely out of context, taking one number, one dip, and trying to build an entire gospel of grievance on top of it. She used it to blame Democrats, to blame Biden, and to completely ignore the fact that the economy rebounded, that markets surged, jobs returned, and wages went up. She gave them a bedtime story for billionaires and expected them to clap along like it was fact. This is where the disconnect hit like a brick wall, because people in that room knew it was a lie. They could feel it. Their 401ks were shrinking. Their investments were getting hit. They couldn't plan for the future because the future looked like chaos. Jobs were uncertain, bills were stacking, and their so-called representative was standing on stage, smiling smugly and telling them that everything was fine, and that if they didn't believe her, they were brainwashed. Can you imagine that? Going through all the hoops just to get into this event, registering in advance, proving you live in the district, bringing ID, getting through the security checks, only to be told to sit down, shut up, and clap like a trained seal or risk getting thrown out. The threats were baked into the entire structure of the night. From the moment you walked in, you knew, speak up and you're out. Raise your voice and you're a target. That wasn't a listening session. It was a performance. It was hostile. It was threatening. And after everything, the arrests, the lies, the mockery, can you blame people for being furious? Their lives are unraveling. Their savings are slipping away. Their kids' futures feel more uncertain than ever. And they look to the one person elected to represent them. And what do they get? Lies, smirks, sarcasm. Marge calling them brainwashed with a laugh in her throat and power in her voice. Wouldn't you be pissed off too? There's a reason she earned the nickname Moscow Marge, because she's not just pushing lies. She's weaponizing propaganda against her own people. She's not representing her district. She's performing for a movement built on cruelty, denial, and control. And while her constituents are losing sleep, losing savings, and losing faith in the system, Marge the Trainwreck Greene is getting rich. This is the same woman who entered Congress worth about $700,000 and after just a couple of conveniently timed Trump tariff pauses emerged worth over $22 million. You don't make that kind of money from town hall stipends. You make it when you get the right tip at the right time, when you know what's coming before the public does. That's not public service, that's insider trading. And it's not even subtle. It's the same corrupt pipeline Trump used when Charles Schwab made $2 billion during his White House stunt and another investor walked away with $900 million. Meanwhile, Martha Stewart went to jail for a single phone call. This is who Marge is. While she's up there crying fraudsters and pointing fingers at everyday people struggling to collect their own benefits, she's the one gaming the system. She's not cutting government waste. She is the government waste. She's not protecting the people. She's looting the damn place before the lights go out. So when someone in that crowd finally snapped, when they stood up and shouted butch-bodied bigot, when they broke the script and screamed for the truth, They weren't just yelling at a congresswoman. They were screaming at a broken system that mocks their pain, steals their money, and kicks them out for asking why. This wasn't a town hall. It was a warning. This is what authoritarianism looks like at the local level. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's not just complicit, she's proud of it. She clapped, she smirked, she silenced. And when history writes this chapter, she'll be remembered not as a leader, but as a sadistic mascot of a movement that punished the poor, glorified the corrupt, and laughed in the face of democracy while it bled out in the back of a Cobb County auditorium. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.